Hey guys, it's Alvin and Jess, and we are the Most Potato.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing the latest epic sci-fi film, The Creator. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched this movie yet, save this episode and come back after you've watched.
Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you guys enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Most Potato podcast. Today, we're talking AI, all that good stuff with AI, because we love AI.
Yes. And John, Benjamin Franklin, David Beckham, Washington, Florence Pugh.
Where those names come from?
I don't know. Whenever I see his name, I just assume it's just like a lot of names just thrown in there, and then we get to like Washington.
So we're talking The Creator today, and this is the latest sci-fi film that's in theaters now that came out by, I keep wanting to say it's from Fox Studios. They're not Fox anymore. It's 20th Century Studios, which is owned by Disney now.
Everything's owned by Disney.
Everything is Disney.
You're owned by Disney.
Basically.
I'm owned by Disney.
Yeah.
That's just...
I can't use my likeness without their permission.
I know. Ooh.
Yep, so we're talking the latest episode, sorry, not the latest episode, latest movie out of Fox, not Fox, 20th Century Studios.
Come on,
This is how much, I know, this is how much I don't want 20th Century Studios to be owned by them. Because I'm surprised that this movie came out in theaters, knowing how Disney has like a huge, like, tight clutch.
Yeah.
Because
they make dumb decisions.
We watched another movie from 20th Century Studios on Hulu, the No One Will Save You, the Alien movie.
Oh, yes.
That's also from 20th Century Studios, and that just got dumped straight to Hulu.
Yes. Also, let us know if you want us to talk about that, guys, because we watched it, and it was...
That was a fun time.
Yeah.
The movie was a fun time.
Confusing-ass ending, but it was... I wasn't paying attention. I like when you decide to watch something, or if you're playing a game and I'm just doing my own thing, and the next thing you know, I'm in there and I'm hooked.
Because I got all the good shit on deck. All right? I know my stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, that's another topic. So this movie is directed by Gareth Edwards. And if the name sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen movies like the 2014 Godzilla movie, or the latest one, Star Wars Rogue One, which that came out like, I want to say like 6-7 years ago or something like that. And this guy's been quiet ever since, which is surprising because his movies made money. But I personally wasn't a fan of those movies. I mean, I liked Star Wars Rogue One a little more than Godzilla. Godzilla was...
Did I watch these movies?
I don't think you did.
Okay.
I didn't expose them to you. So you probably didn't go out of your way to watch these.
I only acknowledged the Godzilla from that VHS I had with the green glowiness. And
yes, the 1997 one.
Is that what it is?
That was my first exposure to Godzilla, and I love that movie. And it's a terrible movie, but it's still fun to watch.
I used to watch that so much as a kid. Like,
yeah,
I'm surprised that VHS was working as long as it
did. That was like my safe haven. I ran that tape to the ground. I don't know where it is. I wish I still had it.
For what? The VHS player that we don't have?
I would look for one. And he actually directed an indie film before he touched any of these big ass projects like Godzilla and Star Wars. He did this movie that I actually quite liked called Monsters, which is literally like about giant monsters. It came out back in 2010. I don't think you ever saw this one.
I don't think that sounds familiar to me.
I remember being exposed to this movie. I think I was coming out of high school, and this was back when Xfinity was just Comcast, and they had like on demand for cable. And they used to have movies like for free. Like I didn't have to pay additional. There was like a free section of movies.
And this was it.
And this was one of them. I was like, let me check this out. Like this probably ain't shit. And I actually enjoyed it. And ever since then, I don't know. Gareth Edwards has been a director. I've been kind of like, there's moments where like I see his potential and I like what he does. But when it comes to like characters specifically, I feel like that's where he kind of falls short. Because his Godzilla movie was mainly boring because it always cut away from the monsters and focused on human characters that were not interesting at all. And then the same thing with Star Wars. I really couldn't get behind the characters that much. They were interesting in concept, but they didn't have enough personality and interactions for me to care about what was going on. But at least with this movie, I think he finally is starting to get his footing on how to write characters. Because I actually like John David Washington's character. I mean, I don't like him, but I think he felt like a full person. And I felt like these characters felt like real lived-in people for the first time. Because in previous movies, Gareth, I feel like he struggled with trying to create characters that felt like real people. So The Creator is also written by Gareth Edwards as well as Chris Weitz. We have our cast here, John David Washington as the main character, Joshua Taylor. We have Madeline Yuna as Alfie, Gemma Chan as Maya/Nurmata.
She's so pretty.
Yes. Allison Janney as Howell. We have Ken Watanabe as Harun. We have Sturgill Simpson as Drew, and Ralph Ineson as... I forget the name of this guy. I don't think they revealed the guy's name, or maybe I forgot to put it in there.
Yeah.
But he plays such a small role, but I love Ralph Ineson. His voice is so booming and threatening.
That's why you put him on this list. I was like, who the fuck is Ralph? His name is Andrews, or he goes by Andrews.
Goes by Andrews. Colonel Andrews.
A general in the U.S. Army.
Yeah. So, I love his... They underutilized this guy in this movie. He has like 2 minutes of screen time. He does great work. Like
he made me sick. Like just
nervous.
Just no, not hearing him. His voice is very interesting. It's like, why the hell is it so deep? But no, like the character just made me like nervous and sick in my stomach. And
the whole military's vile.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God. And like you said, he was only in there for like a couple minutes, like beginning and end.
Yeah,
but I was just like, this man he has no soul. That
was the one direction that he got from Gareth. It was just like, be a soldier, be a general. Like, you have no soul. You don't care about these people. You got to be cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does great work. He does fantastic work in other previous works. So let's just break down the premise just really quick, just an overview of this movie. So basically, this takes place in kind of a near future, but this is like an alternate history in America. So as a future war between the human race and artificial intelligence rages on, ex-Special Forces agent Joshua is recruited to hunt down and kill the Creator, the elusive architect that's advanced AI that's behind the existence of these AI robots. The Creator has developed a mysterious weapon that has the power to end the war and all of mankind. As Joshua and his team of elite operatives venture into enemy-occupied territory, they soon discover that world-ending weapon is actually an AI in the form of a young child. And man, is that child cute, because they just scouted the lands to find like the cutest little girl they could find.
A big egg head.
Big egg head, shave her head down, and just be like, here, this is our baby Yoda. Please, toys, marketing, money, yes. Yeah. So... I don't know what your impressions were when you first started hearing about this movie, but for me, I was kind of excited just because, one, it's an original movie. I thought this was based off of like a short story or a novel, because something called The Creator and being a sci-fi movie, that just sounds quickly like some sort of book that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't much marketing, so I feel like if we weren't like intense moviegoers, I feel like if we were casual moviegoers, even we probably wouldn't hear about this.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have really.
And I kept thinking it was an indie film, but no, it was like a big budget studio film.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I was interested, but I was also, it just reminded me of that Chris Pratt movie, The Tomorrow War.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, The Tomorrow War. And
yeah,
that's what I thought. I was just like, shouldn't this shit be on Prime or something? I was like, it looks good.
You would think it would get dumped somewhere on streaming.
Because when I saw like the trailer for The Tomorrow War, that came out like a few years back or whatever, 21, like I think it was.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago.
And I was just like, oh, it's like, this looks interesting. I'm glad it's free on Prime so I don't have to pay for it. Because like, you know how sometimes you look at a movie and you're kind of just like,
I'm interested enough,
but I don't want to pay. Yeah, not enough to pay for it. So that's
how you felt about.
Yeah, when I saw The Creator, I was like, oh wow, I was like, this looks interesting. And I was like, brown man, and I was like, cute little girl, you know, just with a little hole in her head. I don't know what's going on, but I said I would watch it, you know. So I was surprised that this was in theaters. I was like, okay, I guess we'll pay for it, and hopefully we don't. Whatever.
AMC A-list people, it's worth it.
It actually is worth it. it if you
only if you go to the movies at least 3 times a month.
I haven't paid for a ticket since 1911
Since we first started dating.
Yes.
Since before that.
But I was interested, and I just hoped that it would be good. I hope it wouldn't be too much. So I was interested when you told me that it's like basically an original, just
no previous IP.
Yeah, it's not based off of a book or whatever or some shit.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of how I felt too. And the only reason I kind of hesitated on this movie was what I mentioned before about Gareth Edwards. I'm like, I don't know. He's like not my favorite director, but he gives me moments and glimpses of like, oh, this is really awesome stuff. Like, at least in terms of cinematography and like visuals, he's so good at capturing like the setting, the worlds. Like, he really knows how to shape a world, which is impressive for somebody who went from one little shoestring indie budget film to fucking Godzilla and then Star Wars after that. Like, that's huge pressure. So when I saw the trailers and all the concept and stuff, I was like, all right, he's not my favorite director, but he's someone that I'm still willing to watch because I feel like he's still just growing. And the trailers look good enough. The visuals were freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're living in a world where AI is no longer some far distant concept. It's something that's already affecting our lives. Like, just look at what SAG-AFTRA has been fighting for in the WGA, trying to get protections to make sure that their work is protected from AI and making sure they have authorship and ownership of their work. Yeah. So all that stuff combined just made me want to jump on this because I'm like, all right, what can he say about AI right now? Like, I wonder if it'll be like somehow connected to what's going on in our reality. So now that we've watched the movie, like, what did you feel? Like, do you feel like it met like any expectations you had? Did you have like high hopes, or did you just feel like you went in with a blank slate and just whatever happened?
Basically, I mean, like I said, I saw it, I thought of that other movie, and I was just like, okay, I'll go watch it. I don't mind. Hopefully it's not garbage. And it wasn't. It was good. It wasn't like amazing. I was hooked. I was hooked from start to finish, honestly.
It was definitely interesting to watch.
If you tell me like what's wrong with it, I mean, I have like a lot of questions, I guess.
Which we can get into.
Yeah,
later.
which I know we'll get into that. I guess it was just like, I don't know. I'm trying to think now when we talk about it more. If my questions are just like, why did they do that, or just like, oh, what does this mean? The meaning of life and heaven, because that they touch on that stuff too.
There's some religious themes in here.
And I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would watch it again. Maybe on TV.
Yeah.
Like run it in the background. Something maybe.
I get that.
Yeah. Or to answer any of my questions, I guess, where I'm just like, maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe I missed something. But I don't think there's much to miss. I don't think
so. It was a very straightforward plot and like theme-wise too.
What I was kind of like, they try to make it like, oh yeah, but what about this? Like, do they have feelings, AIs, and are we like, can we
like
coexist and
questions.
all that? Yeah, I was just like, they felt a little bit too on the nose for me. Like,
too shallow.
I was just like, let's make this like a little deeper. Can we like try to like make the movie a little deeper? Because I was kind of just like, okay, they're doing that. They're going to go with that. I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, you're basically echoing everything I felt too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think you might have enjoyed it a little more than I did because I feel like I came away with so many questions that it just, it almost distracted me from the movie, but there was just enough going on that I enjoyed what I was watching, at least like on the surface level.
Are you able to, like, I guess, be on standby?
Not off.
Not
standby.
Off. Standby.
Inside joke.
When watching a movie, like, sometimes if I to explain it, when I'm watching a movie, I have to sometimes be like, okay, this is what they're gonna do. This is what they're gonna do. They're being very like just straightforward. Yeah. I don't have to be in debt. I'm just meant to enjoy this. And feel these list of emotions. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do what you want me to do. And sometimes I feel like I'm only able to do that if the movie's like halfway decent. It's just like, it's like a decent movie. It has potential. It was enjoyable. But like, I can't let myself be like, but what about that and what about this? But they didn't do that. They should have done that and stuff, because I was just like, I don't think they wanted us to like delve that much.
Yeah.
But they could have let us do that. But they just wanted us to keep it very simple in this bubble. So I'm just like, I'm just going to entertain you guys, even though you're supposed to be entertaining me, and just let myself go with this set of emotions. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes I'm watching a movie and I'm just like, okay, this isn't that deep. It's not that different. There's nothing going on. You
have to think much on it.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, you know, like, it's emotional. I can see it. But sometimes I'm just like, do I have to like hype myself up to like feel what's going on in this film?
No, the
like,
movie has to do that for you.
Yeah.
Any type of genre, no matter what, the movie has to do that for you. Because
like,
movies are experiential like things.
Yeah.
I guess to answer your question, with any sci-fi movie, I can't turn my brain off.
You don't want to do, you're like, no.
It's just that I can't, because the nature of science fiction is to make people sort of think about whatever topic they're bringing up, like in the movie, because sci-fi is basically, it essentially is commentary on the human condition, and there's so many themes that they can explore. Just look at like Annihilation. Like, that's a good thriller film, but it also gives you a lot to think about, like the things that you do as a person that is self-destructive or hurts other people.
I didn't feel like I had to question anything, even though this is something that you should definitely be questioning.
I think it's because that's a part of what good writing is. It doesn't give you it gives you the right questions. It doesn't give you questions of like, wait, why the hell did this happen? Or like, was I supposed to get something from this? Or like, what does that mean? Like, there's like a very fine balance that you have to, that's with any movie too.
Yeah.
And I feel like with this movie, I felt like there was a little too many questions bubbling up in my head, just because of like, why was it written this way? Or like, why is this not being expanded on?
So those are your questions. You didn't have any like, should AI exist? Could we coexist with them?
Not really, because the movie doesn't really delve into that question.
It's like, it doesn't want you to do that. No, and that's what I had.
It throws us into being like, you guys should accept AI. You should embrace AI.
Yeah.
And the director makes it very like obvious and clear that the AI characters are sympathetic and you should be sympathetic towards them. There's not really any moments or any character interactions where the audience has to think like, would it be a good idea to have AI that's like almost human level intelligence?
Yeah.
Like this movie doesn't really get into that. So that's why those questions started coming up.
So now I feel like I didn't watch a sci-fi movie. I just felt I watched a movie about a man who lost his wife and then comes, you know, a couple years later to go do this mission, and then ends up finding out he's got a child by her, like the child they were gonna have did survive. This is basically what it is. So I just took out the sci-fi part and like all the other like things that I felt like should have really like made me question and should have like really been in there. And I was just like, oh, this is a sweet movie about a dad who reconnects with his child and his wife for a moment, and then, you know, they lose it all again, and you know, the child's gonna go off and be the future, because children are the future, guys.
In every sci-fi movie in America, the
just
children
in
are the future.
Everything like that's been being sold to us forever, and like no offense, but fuck the children, because like
tell us how you really feel.
What? It's just like
it gets done to death.
It gets done to death, and it's just like it's sacrifice for the children, because the children are the future. But I'm just like,
which I can get, but if it also is just done in a very preachy or too simplistic way, or if we've just seen it too many times,
and not only that,
it
just
gets tiring.
As an American being, and like here in this country too, it's like it's hard to be like, yes, the children, because I'm just like, we kill our children. Yeah, we kill our children like every other like week or whatever, with gun violence and a whole bunch of other bullshit. So that's not changing. So what future? So I'm like, that little thing is like, I'm just like, whatever, this is stupid. Yeah. But I felt like that's what this story like kind of
leads into.
Yeah, it leads into that, because I don't know, do you want to go into detail about Alfie?
Yeah, definitely, because she's like the main point of this movie. She's kind of like the focus. We just got to lay out like the world real quick, because anyone who hasn't watched, they probably might have seen the trailers and don't know what's going on. So basically the movie kind of introduces us to like an alternate history where as far back as like the 60s, they were already introducing like robot service and like very like low tech artificial intelligence, which I love. I love when a movie or a show will like they'll just take our reality, shake that shit up, and be like, yo, what if we just had like advanced technology early on?
Yeah.
Like early in the decades, like by the time it's like the 1990s, we're already like freaking, we've got like, I don't know, like robots walking around, like we have remote like technology where we don't have to go into the office anymore. And that's basically what they did. So AI has been around for a couple decades in this world. And then in 2055, shit goes like south in the US because a nuclear warhead goes off in California.
Oh, yeah.
And the media blames it on this, the group of AI robots. And basically, the US is on a mission to just wipe out all of artificial intelligence. They never really specify if their own country, if this own country in the U.S. has actually wiped out their own technology, or if they've low-key been hiding their own while wiping out other countries.
Yeah.
Because I would not put it past the U.S. to be like, yeah, we should get rid of AI, hoards their own AI while going into other countries, invading and destroying their technology.
Basically.
Because that's essentially what happens. So there's like a decade-long war that breaks out between the U.S. and a place called New Asia, which upon reading like online, because the movie didn't make it clear, or maybe I missed it, I thought New Asia was just the continent of Asia. Just they put new on it, but so it's a country named New Asia, which which bothers me.
That's why
that honestly bothers me. After I read it, I was like, what? Why is there a country named after a continent? Like, who's supposed to be in here?
Well,
and that was
like
one of your
said,
questions.
It's alternate. Like,
I know it's an alternate history and alternate future.
Yeah.
But then this is the part where my brain started turning and just being like, I don't know if I like this. Because you brought up an interesting question after the movie, because we saw that there are many different kinds of Asian people in this country. When we go into their cities, you mentioned that there are kanjis written in certain like places, but then you also notice completely different alphabets from different languages somewhere else. You mentioned that there's there's one that speaks Japanese, but then we see that somebody else is speaking like Nepalese or another language that isn't even Japanese. So you were just questioning like, well, how do these people really communicate with each other? Like, it doesn't really make sense how they're blended in if these are totally different languages.
That's what I was so confused about, because I was like, I know it's supposed to be like an alternate, like, future, but it's not so like different. So that's what made it confusing, because I was just like, why am I seeing like, Japanese? I'm hearing Japanese, but I'm also hearing Chinese.
Yeah.
So
and something else entirely.
And then I'm like, some of the like, because they have like a lot of like when you go into the cities, when you get to certain parts of this New Asia or even islands, they have like cities and they have the big screen TV, and then there's like dialogue going across, and it's like a mixture. I think they had like some English with it, and then they had like katakana and kanji, but some of the way they put it together, I was just like, okay, this is as if you're reading like Chinese or if you're actually reading Japanese. And I think I saw some Korean characters in there as well too. And then when the characters were talking to each other, the characters from New Asia, some of them would speak. I think one of them was actually speaking all different kinds of languages at one point. Different.
I was waiting for the Spanish.
Yeah, no, it's like different Asian languages. So I was just like, I was like, okay, he's speaking in Japanese, but I was like, oh no, I was like, this kind of sounds like Chinese because of the like the tone of the things that he was saying. And then there was just like other languages in there, and I was just like, so is he doing that because he's an AI and he has to communicate with other people, but then there's other AIs, and then that just made me question. I was like, are the AIs only programmed to know the language they were of the place they were created in, or do they, because they're AIs, do they get like a whole language thing? But that's not the case, because
and we see translators being used as well.
Yes, exactly.
From the American military.
These devices. So the American military come over and they have to translate, but I was also just like, so since they're AIs, it's like, shouldn't they know?
Can't they just have databases be like, all right, I'm switching to English, just go on the Wi-Fi?
But they didn't have that, which I kind of like, because it's just like, make the AIs like part of from this country. So why would they know, English, or why would they know, some other sort of language? So that was like interesting, but it was confusing, because like, what are you guys speaking? And how does is New Asia broken up, or is it just really just one big continent? And that
was kind of my problem, because I'd be curious to know, like, the perspective of like any Asian people who watch this movie, like, would they have a problem with this? Just because my main concern is like, what if this just comes across as kind of accidentally insensitive, where they try to make a melting pot of these different people, but it's like it kind of comes off as like you're just homogenizing everyone as like the same. Oh, they're just Asian.
Yeah.
And like there's different kinds of Asian. You have like East Asian, South Asian, West Asian. Like you've got so many some countries that people don't think are Asian, like India. There's a lot of people that think, oh, like you're Indian. It's like Indians are part of Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I wish they fleshed that out better, and I guess I couldn't expect that from somebody who isn't like from Asian descent.
But now I want a creator 2, 3, and like one takes place in South America, then one takes place in Africa. You know, and don't laugh at me, guys. I don't know all the other continents.
Mexico.
New Mexico. Yeah.
New Latin America.
Like how would that like work? I'm just like, if you go across, because when you mentioned that America was just like, okay, yeah, we want to get rid of all AI across the whole entire world.
And they're doing this without permission.
Yeah. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Yeah. But I was just like, okay, they're doing this all across the world. Did everybody just like agree to it? Because I'm just like, all right, y'all, America's AI blew up Los Angeles. That sounds like a American problem.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm just like, it doesn't matter whether you have the AI or not, because anybody from any country can just decide, you know what, let's just, you know, nuke this place or whatever from way across the country. They can't control that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll get into like basically what happened with that, you know, destruction that happened, and why America wanted to wipe out AIs, and why humans are basically like, they don't like AIs.
Yeah.
Because basically the media, the government told them, see, this is AIs, this is their fault.
They blew us
up. They killed so many people, and this is their agenda.
That moment just gave me like 9/11 vibes, where the media would just perpetuate that Muslim people are bad and that you shouldn't be around them, or you could even just target them. Mm-hmm. Like after the 9/11 attacks, like white America just assumed if you're brown, you got wrappings around your head, you're one of them.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the vibes that I got from this. And then it also like I feel like they intentionally like wanted to use a backdrop of Vietnam War as well, because our country intentionally went over there to fuck them up, just because they were living off of communism, and the U.S. was like, we don't like that. Let's go there and fuck them up.
Why
and luckily
America
we lost.
Mind your business. Mind your business, okay?
So with all that in mind, I feel like it made sense for the U.S. to be the enemy in this. In this film. They would do something like this because we are a superpower nation.
Yeah.
We would have the money to create the Nomad, which is this giant, evil, flying metal cervix thing. Oh. Just it's like a weird, like, just T/V shape demon thing that is very creepy, and it just violates any country. It flies over any country. There's no such thing as air defense apparently from any other countries, where they can just be like, you can't do that. You don't have jurisdiction here.
No,
they just be like, you know what? Big laser, scan the area. Oh, a robot? I'm gonna drop a bomb right there
and destroy the whole village.
Yeah.
The end. Which,
again, not far from our reality. That does happen, sadly, when wars break out.
We just don't hear about it.
Yeah, it's not reported on the news. So all that realism is there, even though they've got these crazy like sci-fi concepts like AI and this giant flying like machine, which I don't think you've watched the Akira film.
No.
Like I rewatched it recently, and you were just hearing it because
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. I can never watch that movie the same again. Well, it was a different dub, so it didn't sound quite the same. But he had obvious inspirations from like anime and previous like sci-fi films, because that Nomad ship is exactly like the same thing we see in Akira. That's like a giant orbital satellite, except this one shoots an actual laser, so it can focus a beam directly on one person. So at least that's effective.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna use the laser that you see scanning the mountains and shit. Yeah. I thought that was gonna be the weapon, but then it just poops out a little dookie thing, just like a little farting missile, and it just nukes like a couple of acres.
So there was only one of those in the movie, right?
There's only one.
There's only one. Okay.
All our taxes went to that one big.
I thought there were like multiple, like, you know,
Oh,
those,
that
like,
would
aircrafts, and they were
oh my
owned by
God.
the U.S. in the movie.
That is a comic book movie at that point.
Yeah, because I was just like, this is so creepy. Like,
it's creepy and it's
yeah.
silent. It moves around. It doesn't really make much sound.
Yeah,
it's just like this creeping thing.
it reminds me kind of, but it's not as like scary as Alice in Borderland with the lasers. It's like, you lose this game, your time's up. There's nowhere to run from that like laser or anything.
There really isn't.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Alice in Borderland lasers are just like a lot creeper than this thing. But yeah,
when we see scenes of people trying to run away from this laser,
they can't. It locks on. Yeah, it locks on. Like that AI that he was like, they were trying to like fight it or whatever, and then like it locked on. Or I think that was just like a different like machine that they had that also does the same thing. It targets, and once the target locks onto you and a missile's going out to you, that's it. And he was about to like run into the shelter, but there was like a family and like a whole bunch of kids, so he like ran away and it just blew up. And I was just like, there was nowhere to run.
Yeah,
that was so crazy.
It was gut wrenching to watch. And I think you mentioned that the violence in this movie is like painful to watch, because we usually see violence against like the natives of New Asia.
Yeah,
and we see that it's just innocent people getting blown up.
That's the problem. I was just like, oh my God, because I feel like everybody, it doesn't matter where you're from, your background, whatever, you need to realize you could just be enjoying yourself, minding your business or whatever. Yeah, in the tub. Whatever. And then just gone. I mean, it's good because you wouldn't know, but you're just gone. Yeah. And I think that's like so upsetting. I was just watching this. I was just like, these are people just living their lives. And then now. And
again, it's a reality for some countries.
So I'm just like, even mistakes or whatever, like in the movie, the reason why they want to get rid of all the AIs is because they said that, you know, one of them released a missile or whatever. I'm like, it said like millions of people died from that, just going about their day and didn't expect that. No one thought this was going to happen. No one had time to panic. It just happened. Yeah. And that could happen anywhere across the world. And it does happen. It's probably happening right now as we speak to people because of senseless wars that have nothing to do with, you know, civilians and casual, you know.
With safety and protection. It's all about greed.
So it's just like, it's so crazy to me. And I think that really like, that's why, like, watching the movie, as much as, like, okay, I'm just going to, like, watch this movie about him finding the girl.
It'll never be just that when it comes to sci-fi.
Sci-fi. It wasn't because, like, I was uncomfortable. And I like when movies make me uncomfortable, like, in, like, a good way.
Yeah, not in a gratuitous
some
kind
Saw type shit, which I don't know. Are we going to have to watch that?
No,
okay, all right,
we're not doing that.
Yeah. So and, like, not like that, but just, like, wow, I'm just, like, this feels, like, real. What if this was me? Like, you know, what if I was in a situation like that? And it was just really hard and really like sad to watch. And I like that, like you said, like this director wants you to just be like, accept AI and they're part of it. And that's how I felt, because I was seeing like the AI, like
you see them victimized.
And being killed or whatever. And it was just like, it looks no different than, you know,
just
people, you know, being just hunted and dragged out, and it's just like, oh, you're AI or whatever. Just like, we're gonna kill you. We're gonna, you know, basically unplug you. Yeah. You know. Yeah. It was just sickening to see it, especially because in the country New Asia, they still support the AIs. Mm-hmm. They still want them around, and a lot of them are raised by AIs. Human people are raised by AIs, and these AIs care for them. At one point, one of the characters, she mentions how she saw there was like a raid or something going on in one of the villages she grew up, where she was like an orphan. And when she looked, one of the other kids was dead. And the AI that was watching over her, that was, I guess, like a mother figure, was in so much pain and so just broken about it, she turned herself off, like basically killed herself. Yeah. So I
remember that.
So I was just like, the fact that like, well, I mean, it's not surprising. U.S., oh my God, America. It's just not surprising that they can't just think like, okay, we'll leave these people alone. It's because they have too much fear of probably mistakes that they've made, and, you know, the things that they know, and that they're worried about other countries like becoming smarter with their AIs, or like doing things with their AIs. And that's how it is in real life. You know,
they do whatever it takes to maintain that power.
Gotta get to the moon first. Gotta build the first nuclear weapon and explode first. Who's gonna get to it first? I'm like, okay, now that you got to it first, what now?
Yeah. Exactly. And it's just unchecked power. just let's get into like the Joshua character, because we follow all of these plot lines through him and his adventure with Alfie. So he's an ex-soldier, and he basically gets recruited on this current mission because in a previous mission a couple years ago, he was basically working undercover to try to find Nirmata, which is, I think, is the Nepalese word for creator, and basically that's the person who is responsible for the AI being created in New Asia. And turns out he ends up falling in love with somebody that he's supposed to be taking information from and spying on. Has a whole double life. So he's still an American soldier, but now he's in love with the natives. No surprise. There's always these movies, these war movies. There's always just like, well, you going native on us now? It's just like, you're going to betray us?
Literally, somebody said that in the movie.
I hate when they say that. It sounds so gross. Yeah. Going native on me?
Ew. It's gross when you say it.
Yeah. Oh, God. So he basically complicates this beginning mission where he has to get to Nirmata. Come to find out, his crew ends up raiding the place, and in that process, he gets separated from his wife because she finds out that, he's an American soldier. She's fighting for AI to protect them, and he's trying to stop them by trying to destroy the creator. And so the nomad comes and just basically just demolishes the village that they're at, and we see that it looks like his wife doesn't make it because she's basically in the crosshairs of the nomad's laser, and then boom, she basically goes with the rest of the boat that's trying to get away. And he is completely like broken by that moment. We also see that he has what is it? I almost said auto mail. This is not Full Metal Alchemist. He has mechanical arms, a right arm that's mechanical, that's a robot arm,
and a leg,
and then a leg that's also prosthetic. I think it is a Full Metal Alchemist reference. It's a right arm and a left leg.
Oh,
that's prosthetic.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised. Gareth likes anime, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh my God!
If he threw in a little Full Metal reference there.
Oh yeah.
That just hit me. So interesting choice to make him part mechanical, though he doesn't have AI in him. So he gets recruited because he sees that there's a chance to find his wife, which to me was fucking far-fetched because I was like, no, that woman died. I saw her in flames. That missile could not have missed her. She's on a slow-ass boat. If legs couldn't carry you past the laser, a rowing boat, not even a motorboat.
I know.
Not even a speedboat. She didn't make it. And it's just so funny that these soldiers, they show Joshua this gravelly, like holographic footage of someone that looks like his wife, but it's like you live in a world of AI.
Yeah,
like,
people sell their likeliness for the faces of AI all the time. And you didn't think that they just set up, they're like, all right, action, be Joshua's wife and make him want you back.
Yeah, they probably just Photoshop. Like, let's not even bother with the hassle and the money. Just Photoshop real quick in this video.
Yeah.
Like, no actual concrete proof that this woman is real, but he's like, you know what? I'm desperate. I'm depressed.
All he does is think about her since that time.
Which I appreciate. It humanizes this person because Joshua is not really a good person. He's a soldier. He goes back on the field just so that he can find his wife again. He's going after the creator again. Well, no, he's not going after the creator. They assume the creator's dead. They're going after a secret weapon, which is Alfie. They later discover that it's Alfie. So he's basically on a mission to go find this weapon and basically get rid of it, or at least try to take it into custody so that they can bring it back to America and destroy it, because this weapon could basically end the war between New Asia and America wants to win badly.
And who doesn't want to have a war? Never end war.
So we see that we get a revelation that this new weapon is they call them simulants, these robots that are AI. A simulant that is in the shape of a child, that's never been seen before, because we always see them built as like adults. At least the advanced ones, they have like face scans. The more prototype ones, they look like the ones that we see in Star Wars with like funny little mechanical heads.
I know.
I really like that they had variety in the robots too, and they look. There was not a shot where it looked fake or CGI. And this movie is $80 million, mind you. This shit's it's small, relatively small compared to what Hollywood does with like $150+ million. Like, please if this movie does anything for Hollywood, let this be a lesson that you don't have to spend $300 million the way that Fast X did, and everything still looked goofy. And I don't know. I think this movie secretly funneled that $300 million from Fast X and put it here. Because I'm just like, this is really $80 million. Like, I knew people could do this shit with less money. Like, come on. So basically, so Joshua comes across Alfie, and from there, they're gonna basically develop a bond. It's like the usual story that we see from like shows like The Last of Us, Mandalorian, Children of Men. Like, it's a trope that's as old as time. So we see that they make contact. And at first he doesn't know what to make of her because he's like freaked out. I'm like, how is there a child AI robot?
Yeah.
Like, there ain't no robots having sex. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, like, Madeline, who plays Alfie, she's really fantastic. Like, I don't know if she has history of previous projects. This might be her first thing ever.
Might be.
She's like one of those child prodigies. You remember that movie Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis?
Yes.
I want to know where that kid's at, because I remember seeing that kid. I'm like, he sounds and acts like an adult in a child body. It's crazy. He's so good. And like these nuances that Alfie has in her emotions, because she acts a lot with her face and her feelings. She barely talks for a good portion of the movie. And she does like fantastic work. When she feels emotional, I feel it. Mm-hmm. Like when she cries, like I wanted to cry. Like I started bawling up in my throat.
I was crying. I was over there crying.
Yeah. So basically now his mission is complicated because he is getting closer to finding out where his wife is, but he needs Alfie alive, and he can't bring Alfie back to his people because Alfie knows where Nirmata is, and she also knows where his wife is. So there's like a connection there. So right then and there, his mission gets complicated because if he brings back Alfie to the soldiers, there's no chance of him finding his wife Maya.
Yeah.
So he essentially has to betray his team, which isn't that hard to do because most of them get wiped out in a fight.
Yeah, some of those were funny. Like that girl where they were like, all right, hurry up, run. They were all getting back on this helicopter. And then she thought she made it safely. I was just like, didn't y'all just see that guy shoot her in the back with a bomb and it's attached to her?
Yeah.
So they're all like, okay, we made it. We're going to get out of here. And next thing you know, they see this blinking thing on her back and everybody's panicking. I was just like, y'all should have drop kicked her out of that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, what? I'm just like, why is everybody trying to take this thing off? And I was like, that's what I couldn't understand a lot because it happened twice. It happened. For
soldiers who are so cold, I'm surprised they didn't just like yeet her off the
helicopter. If I was there, if I was a soldier in some alternate ass universe, because it wouldn't be this one, I would drop kick her out of the helicopter. I'm just like, sorry, you signed up. You knew you were going to die. This is how it's going to happen. Like, you're not about to take us all down with you. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. There are some funny moments. There's a dog that like picks up a grenade and throws it or drops it at the local police.
I was like,
in
oh
New
my God,
Asia.
the dog's going to die. And then all the policies die. I was like, I don't care if you police AI, police human, all policies die.
At least the dog makes it.
Yeah, the dog made it.
Yeah, so we quickly see the prowess that Alfie has because she's able to remote control machinery from a distance. She has a certain radius, but she's powerful. She's basically like the Avatar. She can just like fucking telekinetically just turn off your machines. She can deactivate things, and that basically gives her and Joshua an out to try to go find Maya.
Yeah, but
we still have people on their tail. We have what was the colonel's name again?
Howell.
Yeah. So she's kind of like the main antagonist, but we don't get to know much about her other than she's just like, she needs to go after Joshua. We need an antagonist to keep chasing them.
Yeah. I mean, she has her reason too about her son.
She has I kind of almost sympathize with her because I do appreciate that before the airdrop, when they drop Joshua on his mission, she has a moment with Joshua where she opens up about losing her sons. Mm-hmm. One of them being seduced by a simulant before being killed by somebody else. As like a trap.
Yeah.
But then I remember, well, you guys are trying to fuck up this country for your reason, so expect some casualties. I'm sorry, you lost your son, but you're putting him in that world.
But
and
only
she cries.
America's problems matter. Like,
and they almost got me because she got teary eyed talking about it with Joshua, and I'm like, all right.
I was like, do you even got 2 sons? Like, please.
It's a script that we use every time for new recruits. So now they go on this journey to try to find Maya, and all he's trying to do is get to Maya. He doesn't care how he does it, even if it means betraying his own country, which he does.
Yeah.
So he's using Alfie to try to find the location of Maya, and along the way, they kind of develop a relationship. This is where I had problems again, where I feel like they didn't have enough interactions, enough back and forths. The way that we see in like stories like The Last of Us or Mandalorian, where you see the gravelly old man starting to break down his barriers in front of a child and warming up to that child.
Joshua's just gravelly throughout the whole.
Yeah, he's like, shut up, child.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't mean it. He's like, ooh, la la la, and I'm just like, that's not how you.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yo, John David Washington's great. His acting is so good.
I was just like, clearly, I was like, does this guy have kids? Like, that's how the character was. I was like, he clearly don't got no kids. But it was really, I don't know. I agree with you.
There was just enough for you to care about these two. They gave you just enough. But
there was a moment, like, close to the end of the movie, basically, where they come together. And I was just like, okay, for me, I had to, like, build the pieces of, like, I had to, like, give myself the emotion for it and say, okay, this is what is supposed to be happening. So there was like a moment where they both are dealing with the loss, and then I'm like, okay, that's how they connect, because they realize their relation to each other, and then they're dealing with a loss that is connected to them. So that's them being connected, because like you're right, throughout most of the movie we didn't really build that relationship. It started.
They're constantly on the run, so we don't have that many moments of them settling down, having conversations, playing with each other, interacting with each other, doing bonding moments.
I feel like we're supposed to just assume they had those things, because they do it.
I kind of do, yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's kind of easy to attach yourself to a child. It's like, it's so innocent, even if it is just like a mechanical AI type thing. It's acting like a child. It looks like a child.
Yeah, it
is a child. So that was enough to at least get me emotionally invested, but just enough. I wish there was more moments, because for most of the movie, Joshua is just like a dickhead and an asshole. He's just like using whatever he can use to get closer to his wife.
Yeah.
I'm just like, do you even know if your wife wants you around? Because you pissed her off before she died.
Yeah.
That was a huge betrayal. Like, you lied about your life, talking about like, oh yeah, I'm not an American soldier anymore.
She's like, I'd rather blow up me and my unborn child than like talk to you about this betrayal. Like,
yeah, she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah. I'm like, they told you to just go and be one with the community, not like, be
in the community,
like, add to the community. Like, don't like, what the fuck? So like, that is a major betrayal. So I was also thinking to myself, I was like, he's going so hard for someone he hurt, and like, he knows that he regrets a lot of stuff, but it was just like, you don't know if she's actually alive. Yeah. You don't know if she's actually going to want anything to do with you when she does see you.
The whole thing is a far cry. Yeah. It's just like, and that's kind of what I got annoyed with and frustrated with the character. I felt like he almost doesn't change up until like maybe the last quarter of the movie.
I feel like that's only because he realizes that what he's looking for isn't there anymore. Yeah,
exactly. And that's a standard thing that you kind of need. You need a character that goes on a journey because of something that they want. They go on that quest, and during that quest, they realize the thing that they want isn't what matters. They learn what they actually need to go after, and I feel like that just took too long to get to that point. Let's get back to Alfie, because she's like the major deal in this movie. So she's supposed to be like the secret weapon, but not once do we see her get like emotionally enough to be like aggressive or like that much of a threat. I don't know if like I don't know if they got into it, but like the simulants, the robots, they seem to only harm people if it's actually for defense, like being attacked by a whole country.
Yeah.
With Alfie, I don't know if she's programmed to just not hurt people no matter how angry or upset she gets. I mean, she just never does it. I don't know if she just doesn't feel the desire to do that.
Yeah.
Because she only uses her abilities when Joshua tells her, like, all right, we need to do this so that we can get to Maya. So I felt like a little iffy on, like, are they actually fully sentient like people, or is there like programming that makes them a threat? And I don't think we've seen any evidence that they could ever be like a major threat to people, like the way that we see in iRobot.
I don't think she was programmed for that because the character who's basically, I'm just gonna call her granddad. I mean, call her him her granddad, Harun.
Yeah. Played by Ken Watanabe, who's fabulous.
You love saying his name.
Yes.
Yeah, I just feel like he mentioned that Maya could have put that in her to hate humans, to you know, attack them, to be violent. He could have put. She didn't put that in.
She wanted to be. She wanted her to be as much of a person as possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Or have as much love as possible.
And I mean, a lot happens around her. Humans die, AIs die.
Enough to make her really hurt and angry and sad, and so much anguish.
And
especially as a child.
Yeah, as a child. So I'm not sure how old she's supposed to be at that point.
Yeah.
She can't be. She's not 10 yet. I don't think so.
No,
right?
she's in the single digits. She's like 8.
She's probably 7. Yeah, I think she's like young.
Yeah,
like maybe even younger than that, because all she's worried about is TV, and like, I don't know, drawing and just being entertained. She's really just a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, she should be able to have those tantrums and do that stuff, but she doesn't. Like, there's a point where like when Joshua first finds her and they go into that little hut, and she just turns on the TV, and like there's a whole bunch of shit going around, but she just turns on TV. He turns it off. She turns it back on with her powers.
Yeah.
Then he goes and he turns it off again, and it's just like, usually a kid would throw a tantrum like that, but then she just is just like, and then you know, like just whatever, and she just starts drawing. Yeah, so, you know, literally, she's just like, okay, I'm gonna draw, and I'm just like, don't you care about what's happening around you?
Yeah.
So that's another thing, like, that made her I don't want to say not human, but it was just like, it was kind of weird. I was just like, is it that they left her in this, like, because when they find her, she's like in this giant room.
Yeah, like a laboratory.
With a TV and then her comfy little couch and a couple toys laying around her, and I'm just like, does no one like really interact with her?
Yeah, she's socialized.
Does she socialize? Because she's so unbothered. I mean, she's curious when she finally gets out of that like bunker and goes up, and she's looking at everything, but she's not really like, I don't feel like she's like scared. She's just going. She just walking, just like, okay, I'm out here, you know. But I was just like, is he gonna make her more human? Is he gonna bring out that, you know, humanness in her? Because I don't feel like it ever really happened until like the very end, and even then it was still like she has to learn how to be human. And I don't like saying that because I don't feel like it's fitting for the character or the movie. And then
I mean, that's the whole question of AI. Can they be like humans? That's the whole reason why these movies like bring up the concept to begin with.
But then I'm just like, then it's just like, what is it to be human exactly? Like, I guess in this movie too, because we're hearing of other AIs being so emotional that they're turning themselves off.
That's basically a human.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's real. I'm just like, wow. I'm just like, wow, the ARs are like that to the point where they feel so broke. And then we forgot to mention that when AIs are killed, the other AIs, they have funerals. They hold funerals. They hold prayers.
Yeah, that's true.
There's religious robots. Yeah,
we see monks.
Exactly. Oh, yes, we do. And not only that, when Alfie and Joshua are also on the run, heaven is brought up, you know, that, and she's just like, well, are you going? She basically asked him if he's going to go to heaven, and he's like, yeah, I'm not. I'm a bad person. She's just like, well, neither am I going to heaven because I'm not human. Basically, I'm not.
She's not a person.
She's not a person. So it's just like, there's like a lot. It's just like, I don't know. It's not.
And
like
those questions I feel like they don't get dug into enough. You don't have to have full answers, but at least dig in deeper to that. And the movie doesn't really let us explore that.
They don't
much further. It's just like very shallow, like surface level questions.
I had to explore it for myself. I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
I mean,
at least do half the work for me.
From what I see, I feel like they're already human enough.
Yeah.
You literally just said a robot took themselves out because they couldn't bear to see a child gone.
Yeah.
So I feel like they didn't leave room for questioning that. I feel like the movie just wanted us to assume they're basically people at this point.
But it also made me wonder, was the prayer and the funeral performative for the AIs as well too? Because wouldn't they just be doing that because that's what humans do? So it's they're trying to be like as part of everything as they can amongst the humans. Like, is it performative? Do they really believe? Do they know that we are AI? We can't go to heaven if they believe in that, or is it just they just need to believe and that's what happens? Because it's just like you were built, your technology, like your, you know,
that doesn't really get dug into either.
Yeah, so I'm just like, well, I guess I was thinking, what is the director trying to say or do? What does this mean? Because Alfie, she grows. She was a
she
fetus.
was a fetus. We see later before, like she starts off as a fetus.
Everybody's in awe of her, human and AI, because they're just like, whoa, a child. But then we find out that her mom basically made her from when she was a fetus. She was legit working. You see the little fetus. So she grew. She was a baby, toddler. You know, now she's a kid. She'll grow into a full adult. Now it makes me question. I'm just like, will she die, or does she stop growing at peak adulthood and that's it? Yeah. You know, they didn't get into all that, but I guess I'm thinking of all that, you know, moving forward for what the movie's supposed to be, because she can end the war. She could bring peace. That's what she's supposed to do. Yeah. And it's revealed that her mom is actually Maya, or a dying Maya at this point, because we see that she's like on life support essentially. And the fetus that grew into Madeline is basically like the DNA blueprint from the baby that Joshua was supposed to have. Yeah. Before that raid happened and Maya, you know, died. Yes. So, did Maya die on the boat? I don't
know.
Because then who was working on building Alfie? Because I mean,
it was her partially, because she helped that fetus become who Madeline is. But I'm just like, what's the timeline here? Because how is she on life support? How's her body after that explosion? Yeah, see, that's just like, I think that's like a big ass continuity error that shouldn't have been there. I'm just like, that's a huge deal.
I'm just now questioning it. I realize, because I'm just like, okay, so the raid happens. Joshua is discovered by Maya to be, you know, working with the Americans and blah blah blah. She runs off on this boat. The boat gets blown to pieces. Yeah, and I'm just
There's
like,
no
okay,
way to avoid that.
Did she die? Did she survive? I was just like, okay, she at least probably lost the baby, because that was a big ass explosion. There's no way. But from when we find out she's like on life support, I was just like, is she on life support because of the explosion, or did something else happen? So I'm assuming that it's because of the explosion. So I was just like,
weird.
So I was just like, did she take her DNA while she was pregnant? Like,
that's what I assume. That's kind of what they.
Because like, has she been working on this like this whole time?
Yeah.
And I was just.
That's basically what they were explaining, is that she used DNA from her fetus to create this simulant who grows up to be like a child. Okay. But yeah, the order of events makes no sense, because that woman would have been gone on that boat. So I don't know how she survived that afterwards, and how she's on life support. Why is she on life support now? And like, when did the child get created at what point? Like, that's the stuff that came up while I was watching the movie. I was like, wait, what? So I don't know if I would have to rewatch if I missed something, or if that's like a huge thing that they just missed and they just be like, ignore that, just forget it. Yeah. So I don't know. But I guess it wasn't such a surprise either, because I'm just like, I feel like the reveal is that this is Maya's kid.
I don't know. There wasn't enough Brown Washington in the baby to like, I'm like, don't he question? He's like, is that my kid? Like,
sometimes they don't come out fully blended. Sometimes they look too much like the other parent.
Fully blended. Yeah. You sound like you're baking or something.
Basically, that's what it is.
I mean, yeah, it is, right? But yeah. So yeah. I mean.
So I had a problem with that. I was like, it's getting muddy here. It's getting muddy. And I do like this interesting concept that the robots couldn't unplug her, because they were programmed not to harm Narmata, which Maya is. She's the creator. But it's funny that it's not a moral thing that they choose. I think they were programmed not to hurt her. So they had to have Joshua unplug his wife.
Oh yeah.
But before that, there's like a data chip that's in her brain that's like, I guess, has her consciousness. And I think Alfie takes it.
No. You remember when Maya? No, not Maya. Who's Maya? Maya's the coma girl. Okay, when Alfie and Joshua finally make it to Maya or Namada, Howl also finds them. She catches up with them.
Yes.
And so she uses that device. You remember there's like a little...
God. How could I forget that disgusting like reanimation device?
Basically, yeah, that's what it would be, like a reanimation device. So basically earlier, I'll go back a little bit. Earlier in the film, there was a soldier that he died, and they found his body. They used this little device that kind of like puts like a little cylinder type thing over their head and encircles their head. And they're able to pull out the last few memories of the person. And it depends too
on how long they've been
dead. Exactly. So he's been dead for a couple hours. So they use this device, set it up around his head, and then they pull the information and they put it into this dead AI that they found. It gets downloaded onto a chip. So it's like a USB. And they plug it into the AI. And she's trying to get information. He's just like, he sees his body. His basically what would be in the robot, his like...
Yeah, this guy's consciousness.
His consciousness.
He turns over and sees his real body.
His real body. He's like, "Am I dead?" And I was just like, "Whoa!" I was like, "This is
he already
really
knew what's going
freaky."
on. He's just,
it was
freaking out.
It was so weird, and I was like having like a slight panic attack because I was just like, "This is fucking weird."
That was a horrifying scene.
Yeah, right.
That was good. I like that.
It was, and they basically like plug in the little USB into and she's like, "What happened? Like, what information do you have? What's going on? Where did Joshua go? What's the
and
weapon?"
He can only give him just enough.
Yeah, he's
to
like,
keep chasing them. But
all he's worried about is his dead body, and he's like, "Tell my wife I love her," and blah, blah. I was like, "This is so like, ugh." I felt gross. I felt uncomfortable. Oh, it was weird.
Yeah.
So basically, when Howl catches up to Joshua and Alfie, and they realize, okay, Maya's the creator, yada yada yada. She does this thing where she basically pulls out
the reanimation device.
She basically took her whole life, right? Because Maya was alive. She's not dead. So they downloaded her everything.
Her whole being,
basically. So they download that. Howl, she gets a bomb shot on her. They try to take it off. Kaboom. Surprise, surprise.
They love that trick.
They love it. I love it. It's
so funny. Get it off.
Yeah. And then Alfie
actually temporarily deactivates it.
Oh,
but
yeah. See? Peace. she wasn't programmed to kill people or hurt anybody. She's like, all right. She's like,
she
I'm
could have let that
it.
woman die. She's like, Avatar mode. Let's go. And then deactivates like all the technology around her. But then I think somebody tries to shoot at her. I forget how it gets reactivated again. I think she gets distracted, so her powers deactivate, and then the bomb reactivates on Howl again, and then they blow up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Some of these death scenes are like unintentionally funny.
I don't think they were supposed to be funny at all, but I was just like, ain't that something?
Wow. Must be nice. Yeah. So at that point, now they're, this is the point where Joshua and Alfie are being forced back to California.
Yeah, because a raid's coming on the village, basically.
Yeah, they're trying to finish off this war now that they've acquired the secret weapon in Alfie. This is another point in the movie where I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Andrews is like, all right, Joshua, we can't kill this thing because they don't trust us, but it trusts you. So I'm going to give you this stun gun that for some reason we don't just lock it to kill mode. You can option to do stun, and you're going to go in there and you're going to shoot Alfie in the face with radio blast, whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
And you're going to finish her off so we can end this war. I was like, really? You just got there, like you were there for 5-10 minutes. You couldn't try to figure out, spend more time to see how you could deactivate this kid without using Joshua, because you see that he's a traitor.
Yeah, you see.
It's like, let's use the traitor that just like threw everything away for this robot child and a dead wife.
Yeah.
We're going to have him go into that room and finish her off. Clearly that doesn't happen. The movie has to keep going. So Joshua leans over. It's pretty obvious he whispers something in her ear for directions. We don't hear it.
Yeah.
But his face kind of leans into her ear before he pulls the trigger, and it cuts to like a wide shot, and basically she's stunned with the gun, and they assume that she's dead. Lo and behold, she's not dead, because when they're being transported in the cars, all the power starts going out in the cars.
Yeah.
And then Andrews is like, "Oh shit, are you fucking kidding?" And they look at the footage like before shit hits the fan, and then they zoom in, they clarify the audio in the recording, and they they basically hear that Joshua tells her to stand by.
Yeah. And not off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a moment earlier in the movie where what is it? Harun? He basically Grandpa, he had Alfie with him, and they were taking a nap. And so he was sleeping, but Alfie, she was still awake. And Joshua, he snuck back into this like little area.
Flipped the switch in his neck.
Yeah, flipped the switch in his neck. And Alfie looked like, "What did you just do?" And he's just like, "Not off, on standby." So
like, damn,
yeah,
treating him like a laptop.
So then she was just like, okay, and then she like goes off with Joshua again. So that happened early in the movie. So that's why he whispers to her. He's just like stand by and stuff. So that's what she does.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just like it's really funny. And they're just like, "Oh shit!" And I'm just like, "Yeah, y'all like, stupid.
Y'all really couldn't put two and two together before you." And
why did you have to? Why couldn't they just turn her? Well, I don't know. Could they not turn her off, or she had to be like destroyed, like physically, like just broken down?
She had to be, because she can deactivate any technology that comes near her. So whatever they try to attempt, she just turns it off.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they're getting transported. The mission, their new mission, Joshua and Alfie's mission, begins where they break out of these cars, and then they basically they hitch a ride to the Nomad station, the whole giant space weapon.
Yeah.
They're able to get on a commercial flight over there, and then basically the mission is to blow up this whole thing, because earlier in the movie, soldiers in New Asia, they're trying to figure out, how do we take out this machine, because she's just a child. She doesn't have this wide range yet, so she can't reach up there. They reached up now by hitching a freaking American Airlines to the Nomad station. So basically, they're setting preparations. Joshua is setting off these bombs, and basically just there's got to be a countdown, and Alfie has to turn off the security so that he can get to the bombs that are already loaded onto the ship. And then in that moment, they're at a crossroads right now. So Joshua has to make it back on time, as well as Alfie, so that they can get back off the ship onto a plane. That doesn't happen. They get intercepted by soldiers. At one point, there's like these creepy tentacle robot arms that like attack both. Yeah, Joshua and Alfie are attacked. They're not able to get on the same escape pod.
And Alfie makes a detour. For some reason, there is an AI with Maya's face amongst a bunch of other AIs. I was just like, did we know this was here? And
she drags this big ass body out into a field of like a garden that's in there.
Yeah, and I was just like, wait, what? And then she takes the memory chip with Maya's consciousness, and she plugs it into this, and she's trying to get her to wake up, but I guess she needs to boot or something like that.
Yeah,
boot up the new system. So it doesn't happen. So she takes off and leaves. So that also delayed them meeting back up, her and Joshua meeting back up, and then doing what they had to do to get out of here. Which just I liked it because I was just like, she's a kid, you tell them go flip on that light switch, they touch everything in the room before they get to the light switch, and then they forget they're supposed to do the light switch. So I was just like, okay, that's sweet, but I also thought it was weird. I was like, did she know that there was a likeliness?
I just want to know where she got the strength to pick up that limp ass, heavy ass body. Unless these are lightweight machines.
I mean, and aren't the AI supposed to have strength, or are they
idea.
Built to just like literally be weak like humans?
No clue. They don't get into that at all.
Yeah, so I was just like, but she was struggling to drag it, so I was just like, she has to just be like.
I was amazed she made that far in the little time that they had.
Yeah,
out into the garden.
But she tries and doesn't work, and she meets back up with Joshua, and there's just like a whole bunch of shit going on.
Yeah, and they get separated because she's the only one that makes it to the escape pod, while Joshua gives her the out because the tentacles are just in the way.
Yeah.
And I think his escape pod leaves already. So he's not able to get on his own.
No, they were going to get in the same one together. There was enough room.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not able to get in. So he sends Alfie off. And that was a really heartfelt moment. I did feel like very like sad for them, even though, again, I didn't have enough of those moments together. But that's how good their acting was. Like John David Washington and Madeline, they're really great actors. They were able to pull on your heartstrings even if they didn't have enough bonding moments together in the movie.
Yeah.
Like them saying their final goodbyes, I was just like, oh, like I'm imagining like saying bye to someone I love and I'm never gonna see. They know that they're not gonna see each other again.
Yeah.
Because the ship is about to explode.
Blowing up. It is already blowing up, basically, right?
Yeah.
And he's out of oxygen up there, and I mean he was already like almost dead too. And I was just like, damn. I was like, he's not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And it was like a really nice moment, and I was crying obviously, but I was just like, oh, I was like, this is really sweet, because I was like, they had their moment where they had to basically turn off Maya, off the life support, and they were holding each other and they were crying in that moment, and that's when they really bonded. And I mean, I felt Joshua getting the connection when he realized that Maya used the DNA from, the fetus to create Alfie and stuff. And that's when I felt like a little bit of a click happened, where he was just like, oh, wow, like Alfie, she's a part of us. She's me and she's Maya. And I think that further helped drive him to like make sure save her and help her or
save the
whatever.
girl. I'm thinking iRobot again.
Oh my God.
Save her.
So so that made me think of that. So that when we got to that moment, they had to turn her off the life support. I was like, oh my God, they're connecting. And then when they had to say goodbye, I was like, oh my God, they're gonna say goodbye.
Yeah, that's like the most that they connect is when they're going through those really grief-filled moments.
But it also was just like, you guys are connected, and at least on Joshua's side, it's just like, so he's like, okay, let me feel emotion now, because like that's my blood.
Yeah,
kind of.
And then he makes it back to the garden because he wants to die there, I guess. He has no reason to really go anywhere else besides there. I was like, might as well die in a pretty spot. And then he sees Maya standing there, although it's a simulant with Maya's likeness, but she has her consciousness and her memories, because she reaches out to Joshua, and they embrace each other and they get emotional, which is surprising, because I feel like there'd be a moment of be like, wait, is Alfie okay? If she's okay, then I'll hug you. If not, I'm beating your ass.
Yeah, no.
But they have a moment of embrace, and this is basically Joshua's heaven that he described, which you pointed that out.
I loved that. Because it was like, it's a mixture of,
because he said heaven is a peaceful place in the sky.
In the sky.
They're technically in the sky in this evil-ass machine.
And he's at peace now because he's finally reunited with Maya. That's all he wanted to do. And what makes it interesting is that she's basically an AI. And what's interesting, too, is that they pulled her whole life, her whole being into this chip and put it in her. So isn't it technically still Maya? It's her. It's not, something built or anything like that. It's her. She's there. And that moment, it was like a mixing. This heaven was just a mixing of the AI and the human. I'm just like, that's what it was all about. That's what it's supposed to be. So there is a place, even if it's on this nomad that's being blown up. This is heaven. This is what it should be. So I kind of like that moment a lot. I think that was like my favorite part in the whole movie was that scene and how it was just all crumbling, but he was at peace. It was just like, it was a mix of everything. So that was good. I guess that's my favorite part, guys, of the movie. When he dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Alfie makes it back down to New Asia, specifically back to where she started. Yeah.
I don't know if she put in specific coordinates back to her village.
I would have to assume, since she can control all of technology and all that shit. So
movie logic stuff.
Yeah, she makes it, and everybody's cheering because the missiles that the nomad, that General Andrews, he's just like, all right, everybody's gonna die all around the world. They stopped that and they destroyed the nomad. So everybody is happy. I mean, even though pieces are falling down and probably killing more people.
Yeah.
But, it's a price to pay. Some of you may die, but that's a price. John David Washington Beckham Alfred Frederick Douglass is willing to make.
Okay, Farquaad.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that's it. That's basically the end. It just cuts to black after we see Alfie sort of rejoicing, seeing that people are celebrating that they destroyed the machine.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then my main question after that was just like, well, what happens after? Because this country ain't gonna quit. Like, yeah, they lost their big secret weapon with the Nomad, but I'm very curious as to what follows soon after that.
We're gonna train the Avatar, and we're gonna defeat the Fire Nation.
Yes, that'll be the sequel.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a very powerful ending. I did like how emotional that was.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because that was the purpose. That was her whole purpose. I mean, I can't remember if early in the movie they said that it was a matter of trying to figure out how to get Alfie up there, or they can't get her up there to the Nomad because even if she tries to take down this whole entire ship, she'll die because she's not strong enough. She's still young. That's another thing. So it's like she's a plan from years. She was a whole plan. And I'm wondering, I was like, did Maya have this plan in place this whole time? Did it matter whether it was her DNA or somebody else's DNA? Did she just have this idea as like, I can make an AI that can grow? So, I mean, it's something that they've been working on for a really long time, obviously. And they were probably hoping to keep her hidden for much longer, but whatever got leaked, or they already knew they were building a weapon, but they just didn't know what it was, because everybody was surprised that it was a kid, but let alone an AI child, and finding out that it can grow. So, like, that's major. And then it made me think at the end of the movie, I was just like, will she just be the only one of her kind? Will they be able to make more? Because she don't seem that bright. Like, I'm just like, does she unlock, like, you know, like points as she get older or something like that? Be like, yeah, you can now build another you, Alfie. It made me question a lot, and I think I like that, because I was just like, but what if they did this? What if they did that? But in a good way, like, oh wow, like, you know?
So. That makes sense. Yeah, I think for the most part, I liked this movie. It was enjoyable enough. I just think the difficult thing with science fiction is you have to have, like, basically your thesis statement has to be clear and solid, and then explain it and, like, make us be convinced by that. Because that's basically what sci-fi movies are. They always have, like, some sort of commentary. Like, in this situation, it's like, can we accept AI as people? And I feel like it just makes it too easy for us to accept them. There's never really a question. It's not like with, like, iRobot, where we see evidence that AI or, like, robots can be a serious threat. We see them getting dangerous, but then we see glimpse of hope. I did not murder him.
I'm about to watch that. I love Sunny.
I've been meaning to rewatch that. But yeah, I was just wondering what the main takeaway of this movie is, because clearly we feel for these AIs, we care about them, we support them, but then there's, like, the meta commentary. Like, is the director actually telling us, like, hey, like, AI is a tool that we should all just fully embrace and accept? Because there's, like, a fun fact that I found out. I actually watched one of his interviews, and he mentioned that he used ChatGPT, which is, like, a software that can, if you type something in, it can predict an outcome of a situation. In this case, he wrote something that was part of his script, and he waited to see what the ChatGPT would say, like, oh, what's the next following sets of events? It came out with 3 outcomes, and one of them was like, oh, that's actually spot on. And then he was like, all right, so then I stopped using it. I was like, you better stop, because you're already fumbling. Like, we don't want to get our writers and directors and artists getting taken over by robots.
Yeah.
And there was also mention that he was thinking of using AI-generated music instead of having a composer, but then he turned that idea down. And I was like, please, because why use AI music when you can just hire people that know how to make good music? So, like, he clearly has, like, an affinity for AI. Like, he's already, like...
He's part of the problem.
I guess, because we don't live in a reality where AIs are sentient and they're acting like people and they feel like people. We're just at the rudimentary phase of AI right now. We still don't know what the hell it is. It's just a tool. So it could be good or bad depending on how people use it. And unfortunately, it's in the hands of a lot of, like, powerful industries and studios. So I don't know what as much as I enjoyed like the plot and like what was going on, in terms of like the theme of accepting AI fully, I was just like, well, I don't know how that relates to what's going on now when we ourselves are just like getting into like the very shallow pool of AI right now.
Yeah.
It's not fully embedded in our culture yet.
I'm just like, at least if y'all really gonna use that, they gotta make it like at its peak. It needs to, that too. But like, if you're gonna use it and like we come to agreements or whatever it is, they need to actually they need to be like the ones in this movie. Like they need to seem human as fuck, because I'm thinking like, who gonna teach them how to be human? Like I feel like you can't just write that. Like, will it work? Will it be stiff? Like how would that work?
Yeah, because current AI programs, they learn by researching the internet, and they look at people's behaviors. Like there was not that long ago, some scientists they put out an AI like on Twitter, and they would see what kind of sort of thoughts it would have, and immediately it came back with like very racist statements and shit, because I guess some people on Twitter found out about it, and then they just started tweeting like the most heinous things, and then the AI just started generating the same type of like hateful speech. Oh. And then they turned off that AI.
She said a hard R.
Yeah, hard R AI. So it's like we're just testing this stuff out, and the way that it learns right now is just like there's still so much tweaking and stuff to do, and it's like, and it also just makes me question: is this something that's even really necessary or needed? Like, I'm genuinely asking, because I don't work in every industry. I don't know if there are certain industries where AI can be fully integrated and be actually useful for people.
Will it be like Ex Machina? We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll ever get to like robots with AI being just like us. I mean, people are trying to get there, but that's going to be like a ways off.
And I'm just...
So I feel like there's a disconnect.
The point?
Yeah, that's like my main question. Is there a point to having AI so fully in our culture right now?
Like, what is the goal? I don't know. Like, whoever
it depends on who's wielding it.
But even then, like, what is the goal? Like, it's just like, oh, so you don't have to pay humans people. But I'm just like, you do realize you don't pay humans people. They can't make money. I don't know what jobs are humans supposed to have. What are we supposed to do? Is it that you create these things so we don't have to work or do anything? But I'm just like, there's already so many people in the world. Then we're going to have like an AI per person or something like that to do all this work. And then it's just like, it's going to get really cluttered here in the world. And then there's going to be no purpose for us at all. And I'm just like, I don't know if the AIs are going to go bad like Sunny or something like that. I don't know what we would have, but I'm just like, what is the end goal? Because I'm like, is it that you want to stop paying people? Okay, stop paying people. They're out of jobs. They don't have any money. They're homeless. And then we have another issue. Like, I just feel like these things that whoever these people are, the 1%, whatever, the government, they want, just is going to cause more issues. And maybe not for them, for us.
Yeah. But it'll hit us first before it ever catches up with them.
Exactly. But I'm just like, at this point, I don't see the point. Because I'm just like, eventually, what is the 1% going to be the only one roaming around and everything's going to be AI? It doesn't make sense. I need to know the end goal and what the obsession is with needing this.
Yeah.
You know?
That's where I'm at, too. And that's why I feel like the movie...
Especially in the movie industry, I'm just like, damn. I'm like, what is the point?
Replacing actors with AI, just scanning their faces and never hiring them again.
So is this like an attack against actors of the world? Like, I mean, like they a lot of them make too much money, and then a lot of them are broke as fuck as the ones that are protesting, you know? But it's just like, I don't understand the need to say, let's just do AI and use likeliness, and then we can make our movies that way. I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're going to make millions or billions more dollars, and then what? You're already comfortable now. How much more comfortable you could be with money that you're not going to use? Like, I just don't understand. It's going to be like Don't Look Up, and then they go to a different planet, and they still get fucked by alien beastie things that eat them instead. Like, I don't know. Okay, now I feel like I'm just thinking too much. I'm thinking too much.
That's what sci-fi movies are supposed to do.
No, because now I'm upset.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately my conclusion here, and it could change, but I don't think the movie tries to address questions like that. It poses more of like a hopeful, optimistic future for AI. We see some traumatic, depressing shit, but it's ultimately an optimistic movie about what AI could be and what it could do. And right now, I just don't see the connection between our reality and that world. It's just, they're too far from each other. And I don't know. It would just take some time, like maybe in another 10, 15, 20 years when we see AI developing, maybe I'll have a clear idea of whether or not this movie is making a connection to current AI culture or not.
I don't think so because
It might not. I think it's just too hopeful.
Yeah, when you think about it,
optimistic.
the whole world in this movie came together for AI. Basically, everywhere around the world had these AIs walking around, and
we just have too many problems. Like, where are the people? Like, there's still people problems. There's prejudice against
because
people.
in the movie, come to find out, it was human error that caused the explosion.
Yeah, it wasn't AI.
It wasn't an AI, but basically the government, the American government, said it was, even though it was a human fuck up. Basically,
they spewed propaganda.
They spewed it and they blamed it on the AI. So that's where this whole thing happened. So I'm just like, we create AI for whatever reason, for war, for less work, for whatever reason. It brings us, I'm going to just say it brings world peace. We don't know what it brought to the world in this movie, but it seemed like there was a moment where things were good. Then one human fucked up, and then everybody pointed at the AIs, and now the whole AIs across the world are to blame.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, do y'all even got racism against each other anymore? Because now it's just like,
there. They just didn't show it.
Because it was just like, now it looks like it's all just directed at the AI. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the purpose, for all humans to come together against something and not be racist towards each other. Yeah. But I was just like, at the end of the day, it's just like, what's the point in AI? No offense to AI in this movie, because they seem really nice and sweet and better than humans, but just, I don't see the point.
Yeah, I mean, in our reality,
nothing good could come of it. And I'm just like, look, they made AIs in this movie, and it was a good thing, and then humans fucked it up. So at the end of at the end of the day, humans fuck up everything.
Yeah.
So it would have to be like, create AI to wipe out all of mankind, and then we could all just be consciousness inside of AI without destroying the world and ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes. That's our conclusion. And thank you. And tune in for the next one. Yes.
Yeah, so a lot to think about with this movie. I just think ultimately the themes and messaging gets pretty muddied and jumbled up, and it's not very focused. I feel like it needed more rewrites to have an actual clear statement on the position of humans to AI, because it's such a huge existential question, and I don't think this movie tries to answer that very well. But at least it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
So at this point, like, let's just go ahead and give our ratings.
What are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna go ahead. So just a quick rundown again of our ratings from 1 to 5: rotten potato, salty potato, baked potato, loaded potato, and then the legendary most potato. Out of all these rankings, I'm feeling a decent baked potato. This was just fine as a movie.
Yeah,
I felt enough. I've enjoyed it. There was like action sequences that were awesome. Visually, it's fucking beautiful. I forgot to mention, they didn't even use like super fancy IMAX cameras. They use like some pretty cheap cameras.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, why does the movie look like kind of grainy? Not in like a bad way, but like it looks like so authentic, like old school 2000s, 90s. They use really good cameras that are not super expensive. The world building, a little shaky, but interesting enough. The actors, they brought their A game. Like, if it wasn't for their acting, I don't think I would have felt any sort of emotion.
Yeah.
Overall, I had a decent time. I don't think it's something to rush out to see. I think if you're curious about it, go ahead and check it out. Because sci-fi is just like a very heavy thing that not a lot of people can get into. But I'm feeling a baked potato for sure.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way as well. Like, I was watching the movie from start to finish. I didn't feel any lags. I cried. I like having a good cry when I'm watching something. I just felt like, I don't know. I just felt like it could have been on Prime. That's it. It could have been on Prime.
Yeah, they could have put No One Will Save You in theaters, and that would have probably done better.
I think it would have.
It's a more straightforward movie.
Yeah, especially with those weird ass looking alien things. But yeah, I definitely I give this a baked potato. I think it's well done. Good story. It's got me thinking. If I need to think about AIs, it's got me thinking about all these different things. I love my favorite scene, as I mentioned before. With the combination of AIs and humans and it being a heaven as they come together. I also like the discomfort that I felt in those moments, just thinking like, wow, that's real. That is real for people. That could be real for myself. These, casualties of war, which are just really unfortunate. I think that's something good that the director touched on, to make it feel real. But it's just like all the little details of the story, like what his world of AI means, and those existential like questions that he just kind of breezed over. I wish we did a little bit more with that in the movie, or that he came up with his own, own something, just like own religion, own beliefs, or whatever, and then that could just be what concludes the story for these characters. But I think it's a good watch. Like, I think if you don't have to go out to theaters to see it. When it comes out on streaming, sit down and watch it. And I'd like to know what other people think as well too. And any other movies that you have watched, with AIs, and what can you compare them to this movie? Is this movie like one of the top ones? Top sci-fi movies about like AIs and humans? Like, it's something to think about. I think it makes you think. Yeah. It really does. So, baked potato.
Okay. All right. Well, with that concludes our thoughts. Even though I feel like I could talk about this topic all day, but we don't have all day. So, thank you guys for tuning in to our latest episode of the Most Potato Podcast. I want to thank all our listeners. If you guys want to check us out on social media, we're on Instagram and Twitter. If you like what we're doing, if you don't think that we're too bad at this, if you think we're pretty awesome, definitely subscribe to us. Wherever you're listening, just hit that subscribe or follow button. Hit the notification bell too. It took a while for me to figure out what that bell was. It's to notify you when a new episode goes up. So that way you don't miss out on us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. And until the next one, guys, we will see you later.
Ta-ta.
So, AI forever.
Oh, okay. This is going bong.